Three main ages. Adam to Moses, a time when there was no written law that had been given to man. Moses to Christ, a time when the letter of the law was delivered to Israel through Moses. Christ to the present, a time when the spiritual essence of this written law has been and is being made evident. Solomon said, "To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven." Since resurrection is the core principle and foundation of the Christian belief, and the spiritual meaning of three emphasizes this, then it should not surprise us that our three main ages reflect it. Remember, His eternal power and divine nature are clearly perceived in the things that have been made. The idea of time brings us here. But the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness to her place, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the presence of the serpent. Many of us are familiar with the phrase time and times and half a time, also found in Daniel 7:25 and 12:7. If we view time as 1 and times as 2, making a total of 3, does it match our 3 main ages? I believe it does. So, what about half a time? We'll come back to that. Who is this woman given 2 wings of a great eagle? Based on the context of Revelation 12 and Paul's discourse in Galatians 4:21 through 31, this woman is the woman clothed with the sun in Revelation 12:1, symbolic of the new covenant, corresponding to Jerusalem above, who is free and whom Paul says is our mother. So, the writer of Hebrews states, "But you have come to Mount Zion and to the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem." This is the spiritual reality, and this is the woman who flies into the wilderness to her place, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the presence of the serpent. For a long time, this last statement bothered me, simply because some translations have taken their liberties and changed it to reflect that the woman fled from the serpent when she went into the wilderness. However, simple logic dictates that fleeing or flying into the wilderness is to actually enter the place where the serpent dwells. This being the case, it's accurate to see that the woman is actually nourished by the presence of the serpent for a time and times and half a time. Did I lose you here? Hopefully not. So let's go to the next thought. Nourished. Strong's defines this word as to stiffen, that is, fatten, by implication to cherish, with food, etc., pamper, rear. Found just 8 times in the King James New Testament. This coincides with the following just a few verses previous to Revelation 12:14. Then the woman fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared by God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. Here again we find the woman entering the wilderness, aptly called a place prepared by God, where they feed her there for 1,260 days, matching Revelation 12:14. No doubt, our symbolism is getting a little bit overwhelming, but I think we can handle it. We know that the woman refers to our mother, the new covenant, corresponding to Jerusalem above, typifying the city of the living God. But wait, there's another Jerusalem that must be considered. No, not the literal city in the Middle East, but the people of God here on earth, as opposed to those who have gone on before us. Reread Galatians 4:21 through 31, and you'll see what I mean. The fact that they are both Jerusalem in Galatians 4 tells us that they are connected, where one cannot be separated or shouldn't be separated from the other. So Jesus teaches us to pray, "Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven." This brings us to the very important understanding of the spiritual meaning of 2. As we learn, 2 is division or witness, where division is the necessary element needed to bring a witness. Folks, in the creation story, God divided on each of the 6 days of creation in order to establish a witness of His sovereign purpose in the earth, where 2 exist so that it may become 1. We call this atonement, that is, at-one-ment. What did Christ tell the Jews? I and my Father are one. This is the state of being where we bear much fruit. Did not man begin as one, become 2, in order to become one again? And so there are 2 Jerusalems, one on earth, one in heaven, but as stated, they are connected, for we begin our resurrection journey as living souls on earth to end as life-giving spirits in heaven. There is a duality to consider, but only in light of the fact that this duality is, in essence, for the purpose of oneness. A division suggests that there is another to be considered, but as 2 halves of the same whole. But the resurrection process is threefold, right? Yes, living, then death, then life. This, dear friend, is why the woman, like her precious Savior, enters the wilderness where the serpent dwells. Hebrews describes this understanding in further detail as our day of temptation or trial or testing. If one takes a serious look at what is presented in Hebrews 3:1 through 4:11, they'll see that the rapture theory holds no water. Remember, when we take away tribulation, that is our day of temptation, trial, or testing, we take away what is needed to enter life. When we see the woman enter the wilderness, friend, that means all of us, no exceptions. The wilderness equates to the death lying between living and life and corresponds to the second age in our list, that is, Moses to Christ. How do we confirm this? By the following from 2 Corinthians chapter 3, where Paul speaks of the old covenant and law of God. Not that we are sufficient of ourselves to think of anything as being from ourselves, but our sufficiency is from God, who also made us sufficient as ministers of the new covenant, not of the letter, but of the Spirit. For the letter kills, but the Spirit gives life. But if the ministry of death, written and engraved on stones, was glorious, so that the children of Israel could not look steadily at the face of Moses because of the glory of his countenance, which glory was passing away, how will the ministry of the Spirit not be more glorious? Do you see it? Paul calls the Old Covenant law of God the ministry of death. And if we go to verse 9 in the same chapter, Paul also calls it the ministry of condemnation. Living, death, life. Dear brother and sister, the wilderness denotes our day of trial, and our day of trial begins when we are awakened to the fact that the spirit of this world, that is, the pride or inordinate love of the self, must be surrendered, so that a new spirit of giving may arise within us. This is the process taking us to life. And the serpent in the wilderness, it symbolizes this inordinate affection for the self. Note what we read in the following. Every commandment which I command you today, you must be careful to observe, that you may live and multiply, and go in and possess the land of which the Lord swore to your fathers. And you shall remember that the Lord your God led you all the way these 40 years in the wilderness to humble you and test you, to know what was in your heart, whether you would keep his commandments or not. So he humbled you, allowed you to hunger, and fed you with manna which you did not know, nor did your fathers know, that he might make you know that man shall not live by bread alone, but man lives by every word that proceeds from the mouth of the Lord. Division, then witness. God divided Israel from Egypt, but before he could bring them into the promised land of oneness, they had to pass through the death of their wilderness testing. Still plenty left to consider, so I'll close here. Please feel free to leave your comments and questions or like and subscribe, and I truly and sincerely thank you for being a part of Grain of Wheat Publishing.